Alright. Looking good. The camera worked. My chat's all fucked up. Sorry about the block being big. I'm going to do a coffee episode about Zimi and Zimi movement because I got a buddy Purpz. You might have heard of him before. Who's trying to learn some stuff and he kind of wants to see an episode about it. So I went ahead and I made some notes. So we're going to go through the notes. I'm going to go into training mode first, and then I am going to go through my notes, and then we're going to play some games. So let's go ahead and go into the firing range. So pretty much the thing about Zimi is that it's complicated. Yeah, you have to charge it, and like it's supposed to be a disadvantage and all this stuff. But your end goal with the Zimi is to be an SMG. The build I have right now has a little bit more run speed than normal. I've been liking this build lately. It's really fun. I've been finding it to help me in combat a little bit more than ink resist. I kind of like go back and forth between different ratios of the stuff I like with Zimi. And right now I've been liking the run speed stacking because you get to go real fast. So either way, so let's start with like the basics. Like I know a lot of this is going to be really simple and obvious, especially to Purpz, but I kind of want to go over it anyway because it is kind of needed to talk about the stuff I'm going to talk about later. So it's like the 101 of being good at a shooter revolves around movement and aim. Now there's also like the concept of like map control and environment control, but I'm just talking about in raw combat is movement and aim. And what do I mean by that? I mean that when you're shooting at someone, imagine yourself as 2 points, right? So there's a person right here, and there's a person right here. Me being this person right here, I am a dot, right? Like imagine me as just like a point, and I have to draw a line to this guy and shoot bullets at him, right? Like that's the basics of what's going on. However, when these two dots are moving, it becomes a little bit trickier, right? You have to know what the other guy's going to do, you have to predict what he's going to do, etc., etc. And there are certain things that you can do that makes it hard for the other person to shoot at you. So like at the basic level, like moving back and forth is obviously going to be harder to hit than moving forward and back, right? Because his camera doesn't have to move as much. But then when you get into like close range combat, there are certain things you have to consider. Like if you are standing here and you just move back and forth like this, you're making an angle on the ground from like here to here where he has to move his camera. However, if you move like this, the angle that he has to move his camera, instead of just being like this, it becomes like this, and it's a lot harder to hit you. So like a lot of the stuff that Zimi, like that you want to do, just in general, but especially with Zimi, when you're trying to be mobile, is you're trying to take advantage of like camera angles that are really hard to hit. So going like up and down, getting close to someone and backing up, stuff like that. A lot of the stuff I do, like whenever I'm playing and I'm in a firefight, I'm thinking like of myself and my opponent as like 2 points on the ground with like a line coming out of them, and that's their aimer, and I'm trying to make it as difficult as possible for my opponent to keep his line on me in a way that like requires like the most awkward angles or the most changes or the most like drastic measures to cover my options, where he has to like kind of commit to one or the other. And like Mullen said, you also have to consider that the enemy is going to be moving too. I mean, that's like, it gets pretty complex and interesting, and that's one of the reasons that I like shooters so much. And then you can, once you have that like mentality of visualizing what the other guy's screen is going to look like trying to hit you, because that's what I'm always trying to do. I'm always trying to visualize the other guy's screen in addition to visualizing my own screen. So it's like once you kind of get that feeling down, where you kind of know what it's like to be the other person and what it's like to aim at you, you can also think about what it's like to move as him and stuff like that. It's just like a constant it's like a constant analysis of like movement and aiming that like make shooters like fun, right? And interesting. And there's always like more to it. Like at first it's like, oh well, I move to avoid aim and I aim to like hit them. So like one's offense and one's defense. But when you look at it a little bit deeper, oh wait, actually, it's offense because I can like move up on somebody or something like that, and now like movement's part of my offense, or like you can like fire at a corner to stop them from moving towards you, like the movement's part of your defense. So it's just I just wanted to get like this basic concept out of the way. We could talk about it all day, and because it's really abstract, but I just want like to just kind of throw it out there that like, especially like in combat with Zimi, all the movement that you're trying to do is trying to accomplish that kind of goal. So like just think about that kind of stuff when you're like practicing or when you're in a one-on-one. Like how do you make yourself harder to hit, and then also at the same time how do you make yourself more likely to hit the opponent? Which, I mean, if you practice your movement and you know where to aim and stuff like that, it's a little bit less hard. But I think it's like a good starting point. Best scrim I've ever had? I don't know, man. I've had a lot of really good scrims. Some of the ones we used to do back in the day as Cyber Boys were awesome. We've had a lot of good ones as Strange Approach. I can't really offer up one. But yeah. Either way, let's move on to more Zimi stuff. So obviously with Zimi, pretty much all your builds with Zimi are gonna have some amount of run speed, and there's a reason for that, right? It's because you have to you have this charge that you have to deal with, right? So you have to be standing a lot, and therefore you're gonna have to move while run speed is in effect a lot. And it also just so happens that the weapon has pretty decent run speed because they obviously realize that when they design the weapon. So you add more run speed to it to solve that kind of stuff, and that can be good and bad. Like I said in the other Splatling videos, a lot of Splatlings, like if you rewind the clock, a lot of Splatlings would run around like this. This is how a Splatling looks, and like this is bad. Obviously, like run speed is good for Zimis because it helps mask their weakness and it helps take advantage of their high run speed and it lets you do stuff. But at the same time, it's still not really a good thing. So it's like run speed on Zimi is like good and bad, and you have to like understand when you're overusing it. It definitely does help you have better movement, but it's just people rely on run speed too much when you really shouldn't be. Because remember, your end goal with this gun is to be able to move around and do everything. Yeah, that scrim last night was great. Or not last night, the night before. That scrim was great. But yeah, like you don't want to rely on run speed too much, because your end goal is to move around just like you do with any other weapon, while mitigating the things that are bad about it. Now, obviously, you're going to have to use run speed and take advantage of it, but just like don't be one of those people that just walks around doing full charges and shit. Like that's bad. And if you watch my heavy Splatling video, you'll understand that. So enough with I guess these kind of like long-winded abstract stuff, right? So how do you make a gun that has to like charge up these shots and stuff act more like a regular Splatling? And I'm gonna go over this again. I gotta go ahead and bring up my OBS here just so I can see my camera. So pretty much, let's look at my hands real quick. I'm gonna hold the controller up here, right? So normally with like a 10 attack, let's just real quick grab just a regular shooter. You hold down the left trigger, that's this finger right here, and you swim around. And whenever you want to shoot, you hold down the right trigger, which is over here, and then you let go and you go back to swimming. This is like how 10 attack looks. This is how a lot of guns work. And people like Taylor, good example, they do a good job of like popping in an ink. They never really fire too many bullets at a time, etc. And they really good movement. It's really hard to hit them. They can get a feel for how the other person's aim works and stuff like that. But Zimi, obviously, you can't really do that, because if you try doing that with Zimi, you'll find that what ends up happening is this kind of thing, where you're swimming around, you hold down the trigger, and one bullet comes out and you go right back into the water. So or back in the ink. So the first thing you got to realize is that you can't be holding the left trigger while you're shooting. But there is a better way to think of it than that, as far as like learning like muscle memory. So let's look again at my controller. So instead of holding down the left trigger at all times and just hitting the right trigger whenever you want to shoot, you're going to have to let go. And it just so happens that there's a really good way to move your hands, where you start by holding the left trigger to swim, right? So you're swimming around. Then you hold down the right trigger to start charging. You let go of the left trigger because you need to, and then you let go of the right trigger to let your charge go away. Now, that means you hold left, hold right, release left, release right. So left, right, left, right. Now, what you should do if you want to learn Splatling is going to the training room and just do that. Start doing that just really slowly. Just don't do it faster than your brain can keep track of it. Just left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right, and just practice that. And when you feel like you do it a little bit faster, you know, speed it up. So it's left, right, left, right, left, right, left, right. Start moving back and forth. And you can do this really fast with Zimi. And I'm going to put my controller down so I can actually do this kind of stuff. And this is really fast with Zimi. And you can start, you know, you can start to look like, you know, how Taylor swim strafes around on Deep Blues or whatever, you know. You can start to look like another SMG because you're just popping in and out of ink and shooting. Now, you do have a little bit of a delay when you're doing this. But that little bit of a delay is a little bit masked by, you know, your run speed and the fact that you're going for partial charges and stuff and not really committing too hard. And the idea is for you to get, like, a good feel of these timings. And the more you play, the more you're going to, like, charge about a little bit more than what you need to. I say a little bit more because if you always charge the bare minimum and you miss, you're kind of screwed. And eventually, you're just going to be charging the right amount of bullets at the right time, and you're doing this thing where you're moving around by swimming. So, again, Zimi movement, or Splatling movement in general, shouldn't look like this. When you're in combat, it should look more like this. Stuff like that. Cool. Now let me real quick bring back up my notes. So yeah, and this is like the most important thing. So what I did when I started learning Zimi is like at work, I had like an epiphany. I was like, oh wait, this is how you would move with mini Splatling. Like, let me try it. And I sat in training mode for like 5 minutes doing stuff like this. And once I felt like I had like the basic muscle memory down, I got on a brand new account and went from C-0 and got S+. And by the time I got to S+, I felt really confident. For reference, I had a build that was 2 mains, a run speed, 1 main, a swim speed. Like, this is before editing. I didn't have it. It was just, you know, the mains, and I got like a few subs that were okay. And that was my build. I got S+ with just that, not even rolling. So that's the best way to start. Now, after you've mastered the swim strafing is when some of the harder mechanics start to come into play. So one other you know, technique that you're going to want to learn how to do is something called sub-strafing. Now, this is a little bit complicated, and it can be really difficult at first because if you mess up, you throw a sub-weapon, which can, like, you know, use up your ink. But once you practice a little bit, you're really not going to be messing it up. And sub-strafing is similar, really similar to regular swim strafing around with a Splatling, except what you do is you hold down, when you're swimming, you hold down the sub-weapon button, and then you tap the swim button. So sub-weapon, swim. Sub-weapon, swim. Sub-weapon, swim. And if you do this really fast, you'll notice that you can just change directions almost immediately. And this is really nice for weapons like Splatling and such that, you know, they have some movement restrictions and they could use like all the momentum changes that they can get. So you'll be doing stuff like, for example, if there's like a guy around a corner or something like that. Let's see if we can get up in here. And you know the guy's there, you can like move up to the corner, swim back. You know, if you're fighting a blaster, you can make him miss. And with Zimi, you can do a lot of cool stuff in a one-on-one that you couldn't normally do. A good example I have is like the pillow in Kelp Dome. A lot of times I'll pop out from behind the pillow, go back behind the pillow, and then like punish the guy who tries to come attack me or whatever. I'll be able to better demonstrate this for just random stuff that happens to happen in game. But just know that it's a good movement option because you don't have to like stand up to like change direction, or otherwise like when you change direction it's really slow. So there's that. And another big thing that you're going to have to learn is how to jump with Zimi. And this is like really difficult for a lot of people. It was difficult for me. I didn't really start jumping with Zimi after I was playing it for a while. And honestly, Zimi jumping is just as soon as you're ready to shoot, that's when you can jump. Because if you jump too early and try to charge, you'll like not be able to charge. You'll get like a bullet out, and it's bad. All charge weapons are like that. You can't charge in midair. So it's just as soon as you let go of the right trigger, just hit your thumb to the jump button, and that's really good. And that's I know I was talking about this with Purpz, but a lot of the time I'll be moving around. I'll be swim strafing around. I'll sub strafe or something, and then I'll move in one direction and then jump in the other direction. And when you're up close against someone, that's so much like tracking that the reticle has to do that they'll miss really easily, especially if they don't know you're there. If you're like you're getting the jump on someone and you want to make sure that they can't trade with you, just jump. And as long as you hit your shots, you get the kill. And this, again, some people have difficulty maybe landing shots when they're jumping because they're just not used to having to move the reticle in that way. But it's just something that I do a lot. And once you've done it a lot, you kind of have a good knack for how to move your aimer around, and it's really, really good. And this also works really well if you disrupt someone and they can't move, and you do something like that, where you disrupt them and then you just move your camera all erratically. Like, they can't move, you can move. It gives you a really high chance of winning the firefight, especially when you kind of like have a good knack for how the person tends to aim and what tends to make them miss and stuff like that. Jumping over people, but yeah, this is also like important, and it's just because you have to mask your charge, you have to do other things to make up for it, and being able to jump in combat is a really good way to make your movement good in combat in ways that make up for that, you know what I mean? Because with all that run speed and being able to move around and stuff, and then you jump on top of it, it's you're kind of making up for the fact that your swim speed kind of hinders your ability to shoot a tiny bit, so you have other movement options that don't hinder your ability to shoot that help you out there. So that's really good. And what's going on, Fizzin? Cool. And let's see if there's anything else. Oh, slide strafing. I can't really show you slide strafing, but so pretty much like I talked about before, when you are aiming at someone, your reticle movement and reticle movement and aiming are like constantly at war, where you're trying to make yourself hit, make the opponent miss, etc., etc. There are a lot of places, and you know what? I think I'm actually going to go to recon mode for this, because it'll be easy to demonstrate in like Black Belly or something like that. But Purpz said he was having trouble like painting geometry to swim over and stuff like that, and that's really not. It's really not hard. So if you go to Black Belly, I can kind of show you how to like paint, how you're going to be painting geometry, and how you can use the geometry to help you. So like this is a wall that needs to be painted to go up. You can't move up this normally. And Moray Towers has a lot of like random stuff like this. You're shooting over ledges, and it's kind of the same thing as when you're swim strafing. You're like partially charging and you're moving around and stuff like that. If you have this down, it's really easy to paint a ledge, because in the same token, you just kind of go like this. And you're up. You just fire like 3 or 4 bullets. Usually when I'm moving forward with Zimi, I also do this thing where I aim up and then down, and that just makes the bullets land next to each other. And like it works the same for geometry. You spend like a few extra frames compared to a 10 attack painting a wall, especially since the stuff isn't like touching the wall until. The bullets are traveling through the air anyway, so it's like the actual time to paint a wall and climb up it compared to like a 10 attack or something like that is really it's like a negligible difference. And again, this is kind of goes the same way with when you're swim strafing around normally. Understanding like different charge times for different situations comes with experience. So it's like eventually you just know how long you have to charge to paint different parts of the environment. And also don't forget that like if you go to paint a wall and like you mess up, you can just tap shot, and tap shotting is literally 1 frame. It takes 1 frame longer than normal shooting. And you can also tap shot walls if you really have to for some reason. Maybe you're out of ink or whatever. But don't forget, like in general, like if you mess up with Zimi, you can like tap shot. Like if you get like 3 bullets on someone, you can go for the tap shot for the final one, and that'll work. It is a little bit risky, and it's only really recommended if you're like trying to paint something and you need just like 1 more bullet, or if you know that you're gonna land the hit and you're not like in that bad of a situation if you don't hit. But it's just if you ran out of bullets and you just need 1 more bullet, you can definitely get the kill with that last bullet. Just note that it doesn't go as far, so it's like only kind of good in certain situations. But yeah, I just want to throw that out there. But either way, slide strafing. So. Like I was talking about, you can paint like these walls that you have to swim up and stuff like that. Another thing that's like good about walls like this is if you get a charge with Zimi, you can slide down these walls to make yourself harder to hit. And like I was kind of saying before, I'll talk about ledge cancels in a second here. Ledge cancels are good too. But like falling is movement, right? And like we talked about, like, you know, you're constantly aiming at someone, someone's constantly aiming at you, you're moving and stuff, you're trying to make them miss. It's not just horizontal movement, and I'll have to resume this. I'll have to resume this when the match restarts. But, you know, you not only can you, like, paint this geometry a little bit more easily than what it seems at first, it's like, it's less difficult than it is intimidating at first. You can also use geometry like this to slide to make yourself harder to hit. So, like, not only are you moving left and right in different ways, you can also move down. And especially like on black belt, you can move down, then pull back up here, and etc. It's really nice. And one thing that I want to talk about that was just mentioned, I actually have this on my notes, but ledge snap canceling is really good, especially with Zimi that usually you have run speed. So the way this game works, and I can very easily demonstrate it on this wall. The way this game works is when you're in squid form, you know, you're inside the level, and when you come out of squid form, it builds your 3D model of a standing squid where you let go. And when you're on the ground, this makes a lot of sense, right? You know, you just kind of pop out of the ink. That's where you're standing. However, there are some situations where it's a little bit unknown where you're going to show up, and one of those situations is when you come off of a wall. So when you come off of a wall, the game has to figure out exactly where you should be. And sometimes the answer isn't as clear as you'd think, like when you're near a grate or a horizontal surface when you're on a vertical surface. So if you see here, when I pop out of this wall, the game needs to decide if I'm above the grate or below it. And if you're like just where the grate is, the game will snap you up to the top, and you're instantly standing. Now, if you were to swim up a wall and hold down the swim button and land and let go, like you have this like period where you're like flopping through the air right here. Then you have to start charging or whatever. With Zimi, it's a little bit different. Now, this ledge snap also works for surfaces like this. I'm immediately standing if you do it right. You're just, bam, ready to fire. And this works really well on a lot of levels like bluefin or whatever, where you can like be on a wall and you snap up and start running to the side. And, you know, especially if you like make yourself known here, and then you pop up over here, that can be really tricky, especially if you pop up over here and then swim in a different direction. So again, this is like you're using mechanics of the game to move fast and make yourself hard to hit. And ledge snap also is really useful for Zimi because you can ledge snap bomb throw. So you can kind of like, as long as you're holding towards the surface, if you just let go, it won't always make you snap up to the ledge, but if you're holding towards the surface and you throw a bomb, you'll kind of snap up to the top, and then if you immediately pull back on the joystick, kind of like this, you'll be able to throw the bomb like almost like, it's really hard to hit you. Like, they need to predict exactly when you're going to pop up to do this. There was a video of someone doing this with a blaster, like where they shot, it looked like they shot almost through the tower. It's the same thing. And it's going to look really weird on your opponent's screen. Now, do know that sometimes during lag, when you do this on your screen, you'll kind of just like fall down, but on their screen, you'll kind of do some of this. You are having the risk of it not working because of lag. That's just how the internet works. And yeah, but it's just something to keep in mind. It's another movement technique with Zimi. And I guess the last thing I can't really like show you, but just remember that that, you know, while Zimi can never be as truly mobile as like a 10 attack or something like that, you can definitely do a lot of things to make yourself hard to hit and to make yourself mobile and to make it seem to your opponent like you're just all over the freaking place and like, man, Zimi's cheap, just all this run speed and this guy's just zipping all over the place and blah 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 this, blah blah that. But also remember that like your disruptors like level the playing field. You know what I mean? If you're fighting like a really fast 10 attack or a 10 attack with defense or something trying to make you have to hit an extra bullet or whatever, just remember that if you disrupt the guy, your movement options are like infinitely better than his. You know what I mean? Like, yeah, you have to do all these things to like even the playing field, but like if you disrupt a guy, you don't need to do all that stuff. But then if you disrupt a guy and you do all that stuff, it's a guy who can't move. He also can't use his movement to make it easier for him to move because again, you know, you're used to moving and aiming at the same time, so you kind of get used to doing both at the same time. You disrupt some guy, it's just all of a sudden he only gets like half of like his being to fight you while you get everything. So if you just take advantage of what happens when you disrupt people, you'll be able to kind of like turn those kind of situations around, which is really nice. So let's go ahead and play a little bit, and hopefully I can kind of you know, play well and point out things that I'm doing and etc. etc. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, there's a bunch of different ways to get that ledge snap to work. It all comes down to being able to get yourself to snap at the right moment, which just takes timing anyway. And it's really nice because if you do it right, your feet are just on the ground immediately, and you don't pop up in the air, and it lets you act immediately. Yeah, there's another Zimi. And I like this rotation right now because we have like a wide open, painting map and stuff like that. But then we also have Black Belly, which ooh, that guy got me. I wanted to go for something cheeky on that guy where I went behind the corner and popped back out. But yeah, Black Belly is going to have a lot of the, I guess, like stuff that's more difficult for movement, while Piranha Pit is going to have more of like the disruptor and bubbling and stuff like that, which is pretty cool. So going off. That guy's poisoned over there. Again, see how I fell? That guy was still aiming up top. Oh boy. And yeah, so like, I had the guy, we were going to lock into a one-on-one, and I just shot off to the side and he missed and I didn't. A lot of times, you don't want to like go for stuff where the guy can hit you and win, but the situations are like nothing's ever really perfect. You're always going to have to take some amount of risk, and being able to move your camera in unexpected ways where it's like really, how is he going to know exactly how you're going to move your camera? Oh boy. Get out of there. But yeah, it's like, when you get into these situations where you have like 5 different movement options and all of them require a different camera movement to track, and you can just pick whichever one you want seemingly at random, it's really difficult for you to do something about it. And right there you saw how like on reaction, I just jumped just in case that guy was able to like see me and try shooting at me. It was going to be difficult for him to hit me and very unlikely for him to get a trade. So being able to react with stuff like that is pretty important. Gonna move over here actually. So we're jumping. I know there's a bucket above me. Damn, that sucks. Didn't get the kill there. I mean, I'm like being a little bit over aggressive here just because I want to show off a lot of these movement techniques. Like in an actual game, you'll be much more composed. That makes sense, or you'll be going for the stuff when you have to, and not just like all the time. Again, there's that that sliding off the side. I didn't jump, I just fell, and that works out really good. I got 8 more minutes till the rotation ends. It's funny. Fortunately, we're just kind of unable to get out of our spawn that game, but I think I saw some situations where like the guy didn't hit me, and although I didn't like maybe win every firefight or really like win the game, there were situations where I did do something and I didn't die in that moment. So if you like take those techniques and apply them to like a little bit of better like better play, then if my teammates yeah. What is this about Zimi dueling Hitzel? When you're disrupted, you can still move when you're disrupted, and you can still shoot. So when it comes to Zimi duels, first off, you should have that extra sub saver. I know I like say it all the time and stuff, but having the extra having the 1 sub saver on your build makes it so that if you're disrupted, you can disrupt the guy back, and you still have ink, and that's like really important. Because even with the disruptor effect, by the time you wind up that that little bit of ink that you have left in your tank and fire it, you can recover afterwards. When you're disrupted, you can still move. You have to, kind of make your decisions on kind of a more like stretched out scale where it's like, you can't move as far. And a lot of that comes to just having yourself in a good position before it happens. But you can still jump. You can still move back and forth. You can still do things to make yourself harder to hit. Like, you're not completely frozen. That goes for your opponents too. But as a Zimi, you're going to have a lot of run speed, so you should still, to an extent, be able to do some stuff to kind of maybe get away from the Zimi. It's it's kind of more about oh boy, nice trade there. It's kind of more about just either deciding not to fight and having your team help you, or just deciding to just decisively go for the kill. Like the moment you get disrupted, like you kind of have to just commit a little bit, if that makes sense. Sniper that way. That guy. Oh wait, that wasn't the same guy? Or do they have two chargers? I think they have two chargers, actually. Not really sure where that guy went. Something else, if you bubble and people are right in your face, running around in circles trying to like avoid you and stuff like that, just stand still. Just stand still. You can't rely on your movement. They're going to be shooting at you and pushing you back and all kinds of crazy shit. Just stand still. Like I learned that early on, that when that happens, if anything, move backwards and shoot. But just don't try to like chase after the guy and all kinds of stuff. Like if you bubble and there's a guy in your face doing all kinds of crazy nonsense, just stand still. 99% of the time it's just better. You're gonna miss. It's just so awkward the way the mechanics like work out when you're disrupted like that. And hopefully you can kind of see that the way that I'm like jumping up to people and approaching them and stuff, like I never just like stand still. Even when I think I have the advantage, I'm never just standing there full charging and stuff like that. I'm only doing that when my sole goal is painting as much as possible, which will happen a lot. You know what I mean? But when you're like springing in the action and going for the kill and stuff like that, you don't just stand there. You don't stand still. You know what I mean? It's just like with Tenatech. You're constantly trying to move, do things that are fast, etc., kind of thing. Like I don't necessarily think that like do things that are fast is like the way that you should think about your movement, but it's a good way to start thinking about it, if that makes sense. Where just because you got the jump on somebody doesn't mean that you're completely safe. I wanted to tap shot that guy. Mention something like custom earlier about using the beacons in midair to cancel your forward momentum. I actually don't know how that works. And yeah, I do apologize. I was kind of like long-winded at the beginning. I think that my my heavy splatling video was more like to the point and probably more efficient for teaching you guys stuff. But I still think that if you take this in and kind of get rid of like the excess fluff from me not having a script, there should be some good stuff to take from this. Let's see what the new rotation is, because I might go to ranked. If Moray is in either rotation, I'm just playing that one because I know that Purpz in particular said that he felt awkward on Moray. And I'll also just wear my Moray build, which has less run speed, but same things apply. Also, by the way, let me know if my sound is okay. Like, is the game too loud? Am I too loud? I did like a bunch of updates to my computer and changed a bunch of settings, and like now I should have like 60 frames a second and stuff like that. Let me actually make sure it's still streaming 60. That would be embarrassing if it's not. Yeah, we got 60 frames a second, 720. I should have like some. My mic itself should be louder, and the game should be adjusted for that. So if I need to adjust any of this stuff, let me know. All right, let's see. Camp in Arowana. And then it's Black Belly, Urchin, Splat Zones. I think I'm going to go with Ranked. And I'm going to stick with the build I have. So let's give this a try. Because Black Belly's still in there. And again, like, it isn't Moray. And I know Moray has, like, the concept of, like, shooting off the wall. You know, Moray has, like, this big vertical concept. But I think, you know, just movement. If you can get good at movement with Zimi on Black Belly, you can get good anywhere. And as for Moray, honestly, sorry, I got the hiccups all of a sudden. For Moray, if you are to like the right side of the map, either above zone painting or in zone, like that's good. But really, your goal with Zimi, in my opinion, is to get to mid and just play from mid. You can disrupt up all to the sides. You can paint everything. You have a bunch of retreat pass. There's cover in mid. One thing I see a lot of teams do, and like honestly our team a lot too, is that people will just stay like huddled up on their side of the map, all afraid and stuff like that, and that can be really detrimental. Alright, there was like a bunch, and did you see how I tried to get around and behind that guy that was jumping in just to make myself hard to hit? I ended up missing him like a dumbass, but still. Alright, there's that. I'm gonna swing around to the right to help these guys. I don't know if anyone's watching left. It's cracking. So that's the L3D, I think. Well, there's only 3 weapons it can be. It might be an aerospray. Ooh, damn, that was a little rough right there. Alright, Heavy's gonna have Kraken. I have some stuff to paint at my base. Another thing about Zimi is leaving your base uninked for the Zimi is really nice because, like, you guys pretty much get one wipe where you get like a free bubble for pushing back, which my team didn't exactly do, but I still get it here. So let's get behind these guys. We're gonna move up. We're gonna go to the right. Oh shit! I accidentally hit the touchpad, but I think we'll be fine. And I'm gonna still go to the right here. This guy's disrupted, just run up and kill him. Back up a little bit. Got control, that's good. Dynamo near me! Yeah, that is an aerospray. Aerosprays are really annoying actually up close. Just any weapon that has like a giant, like, constant hitbox up close is really annoying. Because a lot of your movement options, especially ones that are about the speed of what happens when you're running, get completely negated by just an impossible to miss hitbox up in your face. So, help this guy. Good. There's a guy over here. Oh boy. Damn it. Kraken got me. This one's a little bit intense, so it's hard for me to talk about the specifics of what I'm doing, but hopefully you're kind of seeing the way that I'm approaching like one-on-ones, and I just keep moving around, and I don't just sit there and full charge unless I'm painting, etc., etc. Like, the full charges are a good part of your neutral when... Where the fuck did that guy go? Alright, I'm almost at bubble, so let's not die here. Gonna have teammates coming eventually. Alright, let's go, let's go. This guy did not decide to do the same thing I did, and there's Kraken there. Okay, well... Lame. I have to just jump in now, and yeah, the game's over. The what jump? The Taji jump? Never heard of that before. Yeah, again, winning or losing, or like if I win individual firefights, really aren't the most important thing. It's also about kind of analyzing like the individual techniques, and it's like, oh, well, Hitzel did this really cool movement thing here, but then he died like a dumbass. But you can still take that really cool movement thing, think about it, and apply it to your own gameplay. And once you have like the muscle memory down, and once like your brain, once you've done things enough to kind of know what your options are in the moment, you can really utilize these ways in just creative ways that work for you. I think David Sterling's book had a kind of a passage talking about when you're really good at something, when you do it, there's a sensation of time slowing down, because, you know, if you're new to something, your brain's taking in all kinds of information. You know what I mean? Like there's gonna be all the colors of the game, all the different sounds, the things in the background, like these bridges up there. Like who looks at that anymore? Maybe the first time you play the game, you're gonna be looking at that kind of stuff. But once you play the game more, you realize that stuff in the background isn't important, and you don't pay attention to it anymore. Fuck this guy. All right. But that concept doesn't just apply to like really obvious things like that. It also applies to like lots of like little nuanced stuff that like it's hard to explain in words, or it's just too niche to really be able to come up with on the fly when you're just trying to describe the general nature of something. Got that guy, nice. Paint these walls. Oh, I hate brushes so much. There's a guy over there. I don't know where he went. He's there. Got him. Don't want to die. Don't want to die. Yeah. But either way, as you start to use these techniques more, like your brain has a hard time keeping track of everything sometimes, and once you do this more, you're not going to be thinking about how to do these techniques. You're just going to be doing them, and you'll be able to just run around in a situation and know just different ways to move around, and like you'll know like the value of different like techniques, or just how your opponent's camera is probably going to move, etc. Like I don't really have. It's kind of hard to narrow like the examples down, but oh my god. But if you do stuff enough, you won't be distracted by details that don't matter, and you won't be thinking about things that won't matter, and you won't be thinking about what your hands are doing, that's for damn sure. And you'll be able to go through these situations and do all these little techniques and just call upon them as you know that they're needed without really having to think. If that, like, minute-long sentence makes sense. Or, yeah. Let me see about this jump thing. You jump this game, Urshan, where you go up to the middle wall on the outside are closed. Jump backwards in the same position that momentum transfer yourself over the side grate. Are you talking about like over to the thing? How important do I think aim is with Zimi? So I think that as far as aim, or just as far as any kind of technical skill is concerned, honestly, there's like a breakdown of like how much does aim matter at a high level, how much does like response time matter at a high level, and even how much does like your perfection of these movement techniques matter at a high level. And in order to get to the high level, you have to be able to do them. You know what I mean? You can't it's very rare that someone is actually high level with very, very bad dexterity. There are people with relatively worse dexterity, but there's a certain level that you have to get to, and this might change with weapon to weapon. You know what I mean? So some of the easier weapons to use technically, like maybe like Dynamo or Lunar or whatever, maybe your hand-to-eye coordination isn't as good. But you've reached the baseline, right? And once everybody's reached whatever the baseline is their weapon, like you play a difficult weapon to play, you play an easy weapon to play, whatever, who cares? At the highest level, everybody is at whatever that minimum technical skill requirement is. After that point, it's all about decision-making and using that technical skill. And so when I see a question that's like, oh, how much does aim matter at a high level? Aim matters so far as you need aim. And then after that point, it's how you use it. So for Zimi specifically, I think that with Zimi, better movement is kind of a more important factor in shooters in general. Unless you're talking about like someone who just has such godlike aim that maybe they can approach some situations differently than everybody else. But I think that Zimi is more important. Movement is more important with Zimi, because movement with Zimi is what takes you from being something that gets bubble a lot to something that's not disadvantaged and gets bubble a lot. You know what I mean? This guy. Another thing there, like, if you bubble and you fuck up, don't run in and die. Like, whatever, you go ahead and criticize me for bubbling bad and not get anything from it, but the mistake comes from the activation of the bubble and the failure to do something with it. Not the running away afterwards is not a failure, if that makes sense. I just want to throw that out there. But yeah, as far as like aiming with Zimi goes, I think that movement's more important because movement is what takes you from just spamming bubble to actually like being a regular SMG and being able to get kills and everything like that outside of those like niche situations. But aim does matter in that like there is an aiming requirement that's a little bit higher than you might think. Yeah, exactly. It's important to weapons. It's always important, but exactly. You'll start. It would be kind of cool, Mullen, to see like a graph. 101. It would be kind of cool to see like a graph of all. It's like like aiming skill and like returns. If we could somehow quantify that, you could kind of. It would be kind of see where the curves go with different weapons. You know what I mean? Like something like Bamboozler would have like this big shootout towards the end, or maybe like Dynamo would be like flatlined, or I don't know. I think that would be kind of cool to look at. But the thing about Zimi is that like you don't need. It's not about if you hit bullets or not. It's if you miss bullets or not. If that makes sense, because like your charge, only so many bullets can be released from the zinc at a time, right? So if you're in a situation where you keep missing bullets and then your charge, you can't have a charge anymore to make up for that, you're going to start running into problems. So it's like the benchmark, like how good your aim needs to be with Zimi, is kind of dependent on, it's like, okay, well, if you keep like unleashing charges and not enough bullets are hitting, and then you're out of charge and your position bad and stuff like that, and then you die because you can't shoot back, like that's a problem. So you need to not do that anymore. And that kind of bleeds also into movement and positioning and kind of stuff like that. But I think that when you're talking about like how good do you have to be at aiming with Zimi, you need to be good enough with aiming so that you can work with partial charges, if that makes sense. Like half charges, partial charges, and swim strafing don't matter as much, because the idea is that you keep moving around, and if the bullets hit, that's great, and if they don't hit, then you're not screwed. Ooh, he got me. That was nice. Alright, so that's a Slashing Machine fighting the CRB. I think actually Slashing Machine has a pretty decent matchup against CRB, just because the Slashing Machine has like different options for hitting like with splash damage from strange angles and stuff like that. And like the CRB can kind of rely on that ability, so when he's fighting someone that can kind of like turn the tables on the CRB and hit the CRB where the CRB can't hit back, the CRB's like, what the fuck do I do about this kind of thing, you know what I mean? Alright, I'm getting the top mid. Alright, that's not what I expected. But, and again, that's me just not just getting myself killed because I wanted the bubble to do something, but it didn't. And this one might be a little bit rough because we are... Hey, there's that damaged quick respawn build that Sendai was talking about. I think that had exactly 1 main 4 subs of damage with the slasher, so that's pretty fun. Ooh, I did not know he was there. Alright, so it looks like I happen to not have a team that's going to be making us win on this map, but go ahead and get it over with. Damn. But yeah, I'll just close up that comment by kind of just reiterating what I was saying, that you need to be able to work with partial charges with Zimi, and once you get to that point, then it becomes thinking. Pretty much like, you look at a weapon and it's like, whatever point it stops becoming, whenever it stops being about like, are you gonna hit the shots or not, and once it starts being about like, all right, what were you doing, what was your thought process, what were your decisions being made, I guess like that's like the line where, technical still stops mattering as much, and it's about playing well as a whole, if that makes sense. And the CRB is just going to run up and kill us, yeah. Or a carbon, whatever. This guy has Zingzuka, I think. Nice. This guy going to be behind us? I can't tell. Alright, so it'd be nice if we could win this. I don't really have faith in these guys to be able to hold this off, but we'll see. I have bubble now. Oh, I thought he was going to still be on the wall. I wanted him to give me a guaranteed kill before he used bubble there. That's fine. Is there one behind us? I can't tell. I mean, I'm alive, aren't I? Got the trade, dodged the shot, that was nice. Tentec killed me, and I don't have teammates. And our base is still yellow. Which I guess is alright, because I get this bubble ink, but yeah. So I kind of even want to have this go into overtime because I just want it to end. I want to get away from these teammates. But yeah. No, I still did some cool stuff. That was a little bit frustrating because my team was just they were just stealth jumping into seas of enemy ink and wondering why they were getting spawn killed over and over again, and then nobody was making any collective effort to like kind of get some ink control moving out of the base. So there was just always that fucking carbon just killing us. That was annoying. I didn't get a new mic, I just changed my sound settings, so if you think I should tweak, if anything's too loud or anything sounds bad, just explain it to me, so I can fix it. Alright, let's get back in there. But again, to reiterate, especially for Purpz watching, that what you're trying to take out of this is just, even in the situations where I'm doing bad, look at the little things that I'm doing. Fuck, it's the same lobby. Look at the little things I'm doing to avoid being shot. The little things I do to move. Like, think about like what my hands have to do, and just go practice it. Go into firing range and practice it. Go into recon and practice it, because recon I think is better for practice than the firing ranges, because recon lets you actually like walk around the environment and kind of test out what you're doing with the actual ranges and layout of the map. And like again, like a lot of this stuff, you need a lot of experience with it so that your brain can see clearly what the situation is, and just knows how to do your options and what the options are, without having to think about it too hard. Predicted that guy. I don't even know what's going on over here. Oh boy. And there's the incredible suiciding Luna. Yeah, this is gonna be pretty tough. I don't want to use my bubble ink right now because we're obviously not going to actually get control and win off of whatever hold we get here, so I'd like to save that for later. And fuck it. Okay, that works. This guy's going to use his Kraken, so I'm going to let him do his thing. Nice lead, nice lead. Dynamo! And see right there, I tap shot at the wall and then ledge snap to get up. Stuff like that. Little things like that, that's how you move around the geometry. Specifically to Purpz, who was talking about like having trouble with that kind of stuff. Like, you don't... If anything, when it comes to just raw movement around the map, that is when you die to a rapid blaster. That is when you don't charge more than you need to, and that's one of the things that comes with experience, which might be why you are having difficulty moving around Moray and stuff like that, where you need to like know the bare minimum amount to charge to move around the level and not charge more than that, and that requires like, you know, not frame perfect timing, but pretty tight timing. And why like when you tell me about it, I'm like, that's not hard. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Rapid, fuck you. Alright, there is a... Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Good. This rapid is scary. There is a sprinkler up top that we need to get rid of, but we can at least get control for a moment. Paint the zone, paint the zone, paint the zone. Not just me, come on! Like, because of the sprinkler, it has to be thorough. Boy. That are we gonna need to go kill the fucking dynamo. There we go. Thank God. I wanted to disrupt him and not get hit, but apparently that's not how it worked out now, is it? I'm not going to use up any extra bubble ink. We might get one more situation where I need it. So I'm just going to use up the stuff on our hill, etc. Because unfortunately, this isn't like Splatfest or anything, so there's no one dumb enough to ink strike the enemy base to just give them free meter on spawn. Something to note, I hugged that wall right there because I knew that it would be awkward for his bullets to, for his camera to navigate over the, damn it. I knew it would be hard for his bullets to his camera and his bullets to navigate over that little bump. So as soon as I saw that the Tenatech was coming after me, I real quick just like moved to a ledge between us and then jammed myself up to that ledge as close as possible. Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. This can get pretty scary here with a rapid and a Luna and all kinds of crazy nonsense. I'd like to win this. But this is looking pretty bad. Ah. Yep, we lose. There's no way. Bad teammates. Negative matchups against weapons, dead set even ones. I mean, that game was frustrating. I'm gonna just wait a little bit before I join again. How much time? Yeah, I'm gonna wait a little bit and then join again just to try to not get in that lobby, because that lobby is just cancer. The Zimi has bad matchups against weapons that have longer range than it. So, pro, like significantly more range. So, pro Splatlings are the big difficult ones. Bamboozler can be pretty rough. But pretty much like other Splatlings are the hardest thing for it to deal with, because you disrupt the Splatling and it's just like it's just got full charge. Like I don't give a shit, and it requires a team effort to take them out. Which like obviously is what you want to do anyway. But it's like with a lot of other weapons, but you yourself can just disrupt the guy and then he's completely disabled. You can decide to kill him. You can decide to leave him alone, etc. It's just like you just freely just like take away people's ability to contribute towards fights without much effort from you. But then when you get to like the heavy splatlings and stuff like that, all of a sudden it doesn't work like that. Like you have to rely on other people to really deal with those kind of weapons, and they can really shut you down by outpainting you from a longer range and from not really caring about if you have bubble, because they're, again, they're out of range of you, and disrupt them, it doesn't do anything, and they can be pretty tough. Pro is pretty difficult. 96 and Cherry can be a little bit difficult, but the thing is about 96 and Cherry is that if they throw up a wall and actually want to contest you, they have to get close enough for the wall for you to disrupt them. And I don't know if you've ever been a wall user that's disrupted after you just threw a wall or right before you throw a wall, but that sucks ass because you are out of fucking ink. If someone throws a wall, you either just paint a little bit out of the range. If they try to get cheeky and get close, you just disrupt them back up and keep painting. They're going to be completely out of ink for a while. You're just going to outpaint them. You're going to get bubble faster. You're going to get then the Cherry gets bubble or Kraken, and et cetera, et cetera. And it's honestly like it's not that hard. They get a little bit more difficult when they don't rely on their walls as much, but then it's just it really opens them up to your teammates. So I think that weapons that have slightly more range than Zimi are like even matchups or better. I think weapons with lower range are worse matchups, and Dynamo's a bad matchup because you disrupt the Dynamo, he's fucking useless. So that's how that goes. I'm gonna go ahead and search now because that lobby's obviously already started, and this is gonna be my last one for this morning. We've been streaming for about an hour, and I'm a little hungry. I think there's some food waiting for me in the other room. By food, I mean I have a refrigerator, so I think I got a salad. And yeah, hopefully, despite how well I'm playing, you can, if you're watching, you can pick up on the little things I'm doing, and kind of take them on as building blocks if you want to play Zimi, to be like, okay, how do I use those to play the way I want to play, or do what I want to do, or what does this make you realize about? Oh, well, if you can do these things, then like, duh, this is useful. Like I never knew why Zimmies did that, or something like that. And again, this is also my style of Zimi, like the bomb range Zimi, which I think Purpz wants to do something similar to. He just wants to not. I think he was like doing ink resist, run speed, ink recovery, and a main of bomb range. So not quite the same, but similar enough. It's the same style. The bomb range run speed, a little bit ink efficiency Zimi is kind of the baseline here, as opposed to the special duration ink resist kind of run speed stack thing going on. Like honestly, I think there are two up there Zimi builds: the bomb range build and the special duration build. And if for some reason you want to be like, oh, Japan uses special duration, it's actually not true. If you look at Inkstorm, they used two Zimmies, one ran special duration, one ran bomb range, and I am just running in and not paying it that much attention. But that worked out. That can backfire and have them just flank all your teammates because for some reason no one is capable of watching the right side of the map on this game type. I'm getting out of there. What was that lag? Did anyone else notice that? Oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. Halfway to bubble. I'll go ahead and paint now. Did disrupt now. See how I moved as little as possible during that situation, just to make sure that his movement wouldn't fuck up my camera? That's what you do. When people are close to you, when you bubble with Zimi, just move as little as possible, and then decide what you're going to do. It just works. Like, I can't tell you how many Zimmies I see, just, they bubble someone, and that person is really close to them and trying to move around and do all kinds of crazy shit, and then they just can't get the kill. Just don't move. I died because I wasn't looking left. That was one of those situations where like I went for the attempt to kill that guy and I didn't kill him, and it was like, oh, I can totally make that shot, I'm gonna go for the kill, and I just kept shooting, and then something else happened and I died because I overcommitted to something. That's a skill, like a self-control skill that a lot of people don't have. I think Mullen was talking about the other day, is like don't go for stuff that has like that risk of you losing. It's not necessarily like don't like go for an aggressive play or whatever, but it's like if you're recognizing that you're starting to put yourself in a risky situation, like don't overcommit to it. I think that's not exactly what Mullen was saying, but you know what I mean. Like it's in the same like train of thought, if that makes sense. And yeah. I guess something else I want to say is like there was a moment where I went to the right and like there was a dynamo and I like dipped back and then I popped out and killed the guy. Like those are the kind of things that you would see like tenant techs do once they're like comfortable or whatever. And like just because you're a Zimi doesn't mean you can't do it too. See ya guys. Thanks for watching. Purpz, I hope that you enjoyed this, and I also hope that the start of the video wasn't too wordy because I think I did a pretty sloppy job at getting my thoughts out clearly and concisely. I do plan on making an actual video about this stuff that would be a lot more like scripted and well thought out, and without all the fluff in between and stuff like that. It would probably be like as short a video as possible. I don't really want to like make something that's like fucking like 20 minutes long or whatever. Like I want people to be able to come in, get an impression that, and then get out. And if I do make something longer, I'll have like a multi-thing series. But yeah, thanks a lot for watching, guys. We're gonna go ahead and host someone here. I'm gonna go ahead and open up the Splatoon competitive community on Twitch. Now there are Twitch communities. We have one for competitive Splatoon. Hey, it's nice. Twitch.tv/communities/competitive Splatoon, just one word. And there's a looting match going on, so I'm going to go ahead and host them. So everybody enjoy, and I'll see you guys next time.